The presidential race is exceedingly tight in North Carolina, where early voting is now underway. Polls show Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton separated by just a tenth of a percentage point. This week, the NAACP filed a lawsuit alleging that 3 North Carolina counties have illegally removed thousands of voters from the rolls in a process that disproportionately targeted African Americans. Yesterday, a federal judge presiding over the suit said she was, and I'm quoting, horrified by the removals, saying the process harkens back to a bygone era with few safeguards. This sounds like something that was put together in 1901, said Judge Loretta Biggs, adding it almost looks like a cattle call the way people are being purged. The Justice Department has now said it agrees with the NAACP allegations. Today, the DOJ announcing it was sending elections monitors to 4 counties in North Carolina. Earlier this year, of course, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a 2013 voting law in North Carolina, finding the law's provisions targeted African Americans with almost surgical precision. Joining now, Morgan State University professor Jason Johnson, politics editor at The Root. And Jason, you know, I recall back in 2000 there was a voter purge of voters in Florida, right, famously, in which this same tactic was used. A piece of mail is sent. If it's returned for any reason, then you can go and contest the person. A lot of times it's returned because someone's living with their grandmother or something like that. But this is the wording of the federal judge today was very strong.
Well, and it has to be, Chris, because this is a step back for all American citizens. I mean, the process by which a letter being sent to your house can somehow eliminate your right to vote, that's kind of like if I knock on your door 3 times and you don't answer, I assume it's abandoned and I can take your home. That's not how our laws are supposed to operate. But I think what's key here also is this. This is what happens because we have lost the pre-clearance element of the Voting Rights Act. And until Congress does something about that, we're going to see these kinds of shenanigans throughout the South and throughout the United States as long as elections go on. And
you also, I think on top of that, you do have now 2 parties in this era of sort of, polarization. One party, the Democratic Party, wants to maximize, make it as easy for as many people to vote as possible, whether that's out of principle or pragmatism, you can say. And the Republicans feel the opposite. They want it as restricted as possible. Here's the Alabama Secretary of State, John Merrill, explaining why he doesn't want automatic voter registration. Take a listen.
These people fought. Some of them were beaten. Some of them were killed because of their desire to ensure that everybody that wanted to had the right to register to vote and participate in the process. I'm not going to cheapen the work that they did. I'm not going to embarrass them by allowing somebody that's too sorry to get up off of their rear end to go register to vote.
To be clear, he's saying the heroes and martyrs of the civil rights movement in the state of Alabama, who guaranteed the franchise for that state's black citizens, in their name, he won't have automatic registration.
Yeah, you know, the bizarre use of Martin Luther King's name and civil rights heroes by the Republican Party has always amazed me. I mean, Martin Luther King seems to have justified everything that the GOP wants to do. But here's the larger issue here. This idea of preventing people from voting, it's not just about targeting African Americans and preventing the poor and everything else like that. It prevents us from having a functional and responsive government. When you make it difficult for people to vote, they can't vote on levies. They can't control their school system. They can't get actively involved. So when Republican Party members, and occasionally Democrats, but mostly Republicans, make it difficult to vote, they make it difficult for them to do their own jobs. And that's what's so disappointing about all this.
Yeah, and let me be clear. I live in a state, New York, that's been controlled by Democrats for a long time, or has a lot of Democratic control, where the Democratic Party doesn't want a lot of people voting because they want low turnout in elections, so they have high leverage if they can turn people out to the polls in them. And then it's for pragmatic reasons, for crassly political ones, but it also wounds self-governance. Anyone that's invested in that should think about getting into another line of work, is my opinion. Jason Johnson, thanks as always for your time tonight.
Thanks, Chris.